Good morning, everyone. This is the VRARA Seattle Chapter event, first event of 2023. We have gathered an amazing panel from Fair Worlds. The idea here is to share information and to introduce the chapter. My name is Roberto Haza, and I'll have guests Erik Horn, Bradley, Andy, and Danny. Without further ado, let's get started. We have a short agenda. We'll introduce the chapter. I'm going to turn it over to Fair Worlds. They're going to take most of the time in the presentation today, and then we'll move to a Q&A. So if when we get to that section, anybody can unmute and participate. This is all about networking and get to know each other. Introduction. We have, I'm hosting today Roberto Haza. I'm the chapter president for Seattle. I'm also the founder of Extended Reality Advisory. It's a practice that I have for consulting extended reality. I'm very excited to welcome Julia Bebout, EVP as partner of Partnerships and Community. She just joined earlier in February, and she's the CEO and Creative Director of Nobavi. I'll let Julia introduce herself. Julia, if you can unmute and introduce yourself to the panel.
Sure, yeah. Longtime member of VRARA Association and part of Seattle Chapter, and just glad to jump in and help out the team and get us kind of going in a post-COVID world. So
we're thrilled to have you, Julia. Thank you. We also have a couple of advisors that have been guiding me as I took over the president role back in the summer of last year. Dan Collin, founder of Kickstart Digital. Dan, I think you're there. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dan. Won't take much time, but I work with innovators and investors interested in immersive tech.
Thank you, Dan. And we also have the honor to have Boaz Ashkenazi from the Extended Reality Program Manager in Meta Platforms. Boaz, I believe you're also there. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Boaz Ashkenazi. It's nice to meet everybody. Excited to be advising and also excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Boaz. All right, let's get started. So first, welcome, first of all, to the chapter, the Seattle Chapter. Here is our goal is to share knowledge and perform experiments that push the boundary of extended reality. We provide opportunities to be an active part of the extended reality community with projects, learning opportunities, and connecting the Seattle extended reality community with the global XR community. Everything we do in the programs are designed to accelerate growth, knowledge, and connections. For those of you that are new to VRARA, the chapter is part of the Global Association, which is an international organization designed to foster this collaboration between solution providers and end users like many here that accelerates growth, fosters research and education, helps develop industry best practices, and connect member organizations and promotes the services of member companies. This is a global association with over 100+ episodes of podcasts, 65,000 members around the world, 24,000 monthly website visits we get, 60 chapters worldwide. We're just one of those 60, the Seattle chapter, 100+ major events per year, like this one we're having today, 20+ dedicated interest groups, and a members Slack portal available only for members. We started with the pandemic, all in-person events stopped to get to an end, and the Global Association started the Immerse Global Summit last year, one in Europe, in Portugal, and one at the end of last year in USA, both in person, and they were highly attended. It was very successful. Here in Seattle, we want to emulate that in-person experience, so we're going to have a Seattle Center Demo Day, either in March or April. The date is still TBD between that and the Snap Demo Day, both in person, hopefully both here in Seattle. And we're also collaborating with the Vancouver chapter on June 23rd. So if any of you don't mind making the drive over there, we have the event in a major volumetric capture studio lounge, departure lounge, and we're putting the program together. You should expect more from that soon. We also have virtual events happening every month. We have the Storytelling Committee with a forum on March 2nd and March 3rd, the Education Committee running a forum on April 26th, and the Enterprise and Training Committee is running a forum on May 24th. So a lot of events happening in person, the first ones. The Immersive Global Summit, we expect dates to come out very soon. So we're very excited about that. So without further ado, I want to start the meeting with my favorite quote from Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And I'm going to turn it over to Erik and his team to introduce us to Fair Worlds, how they came about, to do what they do, and walk us through the space-time adventure tours at the Seattle Center. Erik, please take it away.
I love that you start with a Walt quote, and people will realize why here in a second. I'll briefly introduce myself. My name is Erik Horn, co-founder of Fair Worlds. We're based in Seattle and Austin, and over the last couple of years, we have folks like Andy is in Chicago. We have 2 folks in Ohio, someone in Wisconsin. We're starting to become a bit more distributed, but our 2 main hubs are Seattle and Austin. We're an immersive agency. We started really focused on virtual reality, as everything, augmented reality is a part of our day-to-day. Just any sort of immersive tech we're starting to do for projection mapping, as well as some even like live immersive theater type events. I'll quickly we'll kind of go in clockwise here. Brad, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Brad Parrott. I'm creative director at Fair Worlds. I'm here with, well, she will introduce. Yeah. We're in the Austin office, and we're very happy to be here.
I'm Angela Gomez. I'm sitting in because we are doing an in-person event around Spacetime Adventure Tour here in Austin for South by Southwest, and also an immersive talk with the UT Immersive students on March 21st around this and accessibility issues. And I also saw several of the UT students on this call. So hello. Thank you.
Is that me?
That's a good tease for what we're going to talk about at the end. We'll go to
I can't see the board here, so I'm clockwise. Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Slater. I am a sound designer and access lead at Fair Worlds, and I am in beautiful Chicago, Illinois. And just wanted to say hello. I have a background in spatial audio and accessibility for XR and that sort of thing, and that's kind of what I'm bringing to this project.
That's awesome. And hey, I'm Todd Little, senior developer here, and yeah, sort of leading the charge on the development side of this.
Well, great. Let me share my screen. And I'll quickly kind of give a high level of Fair Worlds, and we'll jump right in. Can everybody see this? Oops, loading for me. So Fair Worlds, we're an immersive agency. And the reason I love the Walt quote is, yes, we very much wear our Disney love on our sleeves. And a lot of the way that we think about experiences, we think about things like attraction design, right? So when we were building VR experiences at the beginning of the company at events, we would think about it more like a ride and not a game, something that you don't need a tutorial for, and really kind of thinking about throughput, and how many people you can get in and out of an experience. As we've grown, I won't play the reel. Like I said, we're based in Austin and Seattle. Angela kind of teased it. We're hosting an event in our Austin office, which is this historic Baker School Elementary School during South by Southwest. We can send info about that after the call or after this meeting if anybody is going to be in town for the event. There's a lot in here and kind of like our process in general. We'll talk about more specifically for Spacetime Adventure Tour, but just some background on us, everything from short format storytelling experiences in virtual reality to augmented reality visualizers. This is a live app on the App Store. Actually just was updated on Monday. Very proud of it. To kind of like pushing the boundaries of like what's possible with XR and digital scent. We just launched our project with OVR at CES, which is a digital scent technology that we'll be adding spatial features to in the coming months. But enough about Fair Worlds as an agency, what's interesting for this call and what we want to talk about is Fair Worlds as creating our own product. So in early 2020, we had a client approach us who did events, and all of their events were canceled, and they were desperate to get something off the ground that year. And they came to us and they wanted to concept a immersive augmented reality horror escape room walking tour, which is a lot of words. And we love that idea, except the horror escape room part. And that client, it never ended up working out because of 2020 reasons. But we decided as a group that there was a great opportunity for us to kind of kick off kind of what Google calls like a 20% project. So an internal project that we're self-funding, where the team spends roughly 20% of their game, which is what R&D stands for, and poking creatively into the space that our clients aren't asking us for. And where we have landed over this 2.5-year journey is Space-Time Adventure Tours, which is our flagship journey, is a 30-minute walking tour around the Seattle Center. We're using the Seattle Center as our digital sandbox. We did this without the Seattle Center's knowledge for about 2 years. So that was a fun first meeting when we showed them a prototype. Play with spatial augmented technology. It just went live in what we're calling early access. So you can download it. In the chat, I posted a video link, and then we can kind of continue to talk.
Erik,
Was that, I think I finished it. Was that everybody was able to watch the video?
So
Great. Well, I'm going to start sharing again. And Todd, I don't know if you want to, as lead designer and developer on this, kind of talk about our design philosophy and principles in the project. And I will share my screen and kind of give you some visuals while you talk.
Yeah. So we sort of we're using the Lightship SDK, and so one of the things that, from a technology standpoint, we're focusing on using GPS for a lot of the navigation. But some of the lessons that we learned was, you need to place those locations that are sort of ADA accessible. So we were initially putting things like on grassy plains and stuff like that. And so that started this conversation of like, how can we make this inclusive and accessible as you're walking around? And Andy will kind of talk a little bit about that in a second here. But we also one of the principles was we want to make this as immersive as we can. So there's this kind of walk, stop, and watch mentality. And we came to that eventually, but we had to go through many iterations to get to that philosophy. But you can kind of see here's the route. So we start at the monorail station, and we get to spots like the Space Needle, the Pacific Science Center, the International Fountain, and the Climate Pledge Arena. And so it's been a fun challenge of like how to navigate people through space, and then also give them sort of a history lesson as they go. And there's different mechanics. There's different stops that you have to tune time crystals, as you saw in the video, and that really brings out the AR aspect. In the future, we want to use visual positioning system, and so this is the ability to place virtual content at centimeter accuracy. GPS can be off by about 30 feet in general. So Niantic has this new system called the VPS system, and so we're scouting out different locations that will be good monuments to place that content. And this may be a 2.0 feature, but it's exciting times with this new tech.
Yeah, and I find that very interesting that you guys started this before VPS was even available by Niantic, right?
Right, correct. So GPS was the go-to at that point, but we want to integrate VPS where we can.
Yeah, and it's truly like a mobile experience. Like that's something that in these panels we usually tend to look at the headsets, and this is even more accessible by anybody with a mobile phone, right?
Correct. Yep. And we're also looking at Eighth Wall. So Niantic bought up Eighth Wall last year, and so instead of having to download an app, we're looking at, well, how can we do this on the web? So yeah, lots of things are changing this last year. So we're excited to keep up on that.
Yeah, we want to be ready when headsets are ready for tours like this. So we, and not to spoil it, and we're still doing R&D on what's going to be possible for our South by event, but we're even looking into taking some of this content and putting it into headsets for standalone kind of like event-based experiences. But we really like this idea of transforming your phone into a walkie-talkie time machine and trying to make your phone feel like a magical device. We think Pokemon does a really good job with this. But how can we do that in like a smaller scale for storytelling? I will shout out Todd for this and talking about like design principles. We struggled a lot in the gameplay and what is the agility? Like, is this a game? Is it not a game? We don't really want people to lose. We want it to be fun and like Nintendo-ish and accessible for like my 7-year-old has done it and my 75-year-old mother has done it, right? Like we want that swing of viewers, and Todd coined it as what do you say, like a digital toy, like a digital interactive toy,
right?
Which I thought was a really interesting way to think about the tuning of the time crystals as something that's fun and interactive, but doesn't kind of have the frustration gameplay elements, especially in something like this where you're in a crowded environment. You're probably on vacation or part of your day planning. I'd actually like to kick it to Brad for a second. Todd and I live in Seattle. When this project began, I lived in Austin. Now I live in Seattle. So we have the benefit of walking the tour whenever we want. Brad has been creatively leading the team on the script and only was able to come walk it last February. Brad, what do you want to talk about that a little bit? Writing.
Sure. I know time is limited, so we don't have to get too much into the creative, but myself and a creative partner here in Austin named Michael Wiebe wrote this script and completely just from the internet. And so, it wasn't like a year and a half before we ever even got to go to Seattle to do it the first time. And it wasn't working. I mean, it was working. It was working enough that we got excited about it. But kind of going back to what Todd said, like this started as an R&D project. We're only still with it because it turned out to get better and better and better. And so, yeah, so we've now that Mike and I have done it, and Todd's been helping us with builds that kind of allow us to do it more virtually, just to sort of work through some narrative decisions. But yeah, it's really exciting to see how far it's come and to talk about where it's going. But yeah, I love it now. I'll take any chance to come to the Seattle Center. As for being our inaugural tour, I think this was perfect. Absolutely.
Well, Andy, I would love for you to talk too about from the accessibility side and the first time you were able to walk the tour this summer. We flew the entire team for our 5-year anniversary to walk the tour together for an offsite, and that was Andy's first opportunity to see if all the work we've been doing on wayfinding for accessibility works. So yeah, I'll let Andy talk a little bit.
Sure, thank you. So I'm blind, and there's an app that has been since killed off by Microsoft called Soundscape, which was an incredibly innovative wayfinding app that used spatial audio to kind of help direct a blind person from point A to point B, and it would, it talks about, tells you when there's a crosswalk, when there's stairs, and that sort of thing. And so that's gone now, but taking some of those principles without ever having access to the code or anything, we built through the back end something that is very similar to Soundscape. And working with Todd and the team remote from Chicago, and then finally getting out there and taking the tour and realizing that, the whole idea works was incredible to me. And then it, gave me the opportunity to kind of navigate safely around the Seattle Center. We had these sort of little sonic beacons that would help you get from point A to point B that you could toggle on and off. And then there was also more sort of like GPS directions, or, things like coming up in 100 feet is the next stop and that sort of thing. And, as we continue to develop that with the inclusion of like Lightship and stuff, will make it, like Todd had said, even more reliable and precise, which, is, a lot better for a blind navigator's safety, especially if we are using headphones, whether those headphones have transparent listening or not. And so seeing that work, as the app was built in Unity, which is still very limited with, it's like screen reader use and that sort of thing, having to kind of, create it from scratch was really impressive, because it showed to me that these things are, totally, developers are totally capable of doing this, but not a lot of people either know how or even consider it, right? With digital storytelling, you have this great opportunity to be as inclusive, as anything else. In the app, we have captions, we have some functions that use haptics. The menu screen is usable with a screen reader, either the built-in one or your iOS voiceover. And then we've also, in the script, use visual descriptions, kind of like an audio description, to narrate what the surroundings look like, and the fun little stops along the way, so a blind person gets an idea. And then not only with the spatial audio through the navigation, but we've also incorporated that into the gameplay, like Todd had mentioned, capturing the time crystals. The time crystal itself has like an audio asset, an audio object attached to it, so that as you're moving your phone, if the time crystal is, in one direction, and you can hear where that is, and you go to capture it with the gameplay, that sort of thing, you line your phone up and you can grab that. And if you're blind, that sort of thing is really, kind of the solution on how to be a part of the gameplay. And, as we move on, even further with those sort of developments, like Erik had said, this is sort of like an R&D project, but it's also, opening up the capabilities and the ideas that we have for access, and seeing how we can implement that to, works with our clients and all of our other, future developments. And as, the Soundscape code is now open source, wondering how we might implement into this or other projects like that. But I think that we've already got a pretty good head start on that, just, you know, considering access from the beginning. Like Todd had mentioned, making sure that the path is ADA accessible and that we've got, it's not a timed tour. It's kind of like a leisurely thing. So people aren't rushed to do so and they can stop and take a rest and that sort of thing. So, yeah, when it comes to that, I feel like we're in a really good place to, you know, have the app playable and presentable to a visually impaired and blind audience, with a whole lot of, you know, great things coming down the pipeline as the tech progresses and access can move parallel with it.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Todd, this project really impresses me because we think about augmented reality as a very visual experience, right? Like mostly visual. And with the stereoscopic sound, you're proving that this experience can also translate to visually impaired and be more inclusive, right? So kudos to you, Erik, and Todd, your team, for including this as a feature on the app. Really.
Thank you.
All right, we're coming to the top of the half an hour, and we're gonna have to move to the final remarks of the presentation. Erik, if you wanna stop sharing, and I'll move us to the final slide. So thank you again, everybody, for joining. We'll have Erik and yeah, another member of your team in March or April. That's still to be confirmed. Expect to hear more from that. We want to call this XR and Beers in the Space Needle at the Seattle Center to have demo day with this Fair Worlds Seattle Center Adventure Tour. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Right now is the time to participate. We'll have a few minutes to answer any Q&As that you have, or type them in the chat if you don't want to speak out loud.
I've got to jump to another call. I just want to really shout out the presentation and this application. I'm really excited about checking this out at Seattle Center. And
Awesome.
so the one question I have is on the website. You had mentioned at the beginning that there was a way to either input an email to get this on test flight. Can you talk about that real quick again, so everybody that wants it to get it on test flight can?
Yeah, totally. So we can put the website in the chat. But yeah, if you go to the website, there's a link that says download now, and you can click on that, and there's basically click on it, and it will send you an email, and you can just accept that. It's only currently on iOS, but we are working on Android eventually. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, everybody.
And I'll keep mine brief, everybody. This is probably not the best time to introduce like who I am, but I just wanted to. I appreciate the presentation was amazing. It's right up my alley. I'm Trevor Backlund. I'm with FS Studio. We're members of the organization. New York. We're on the training committee with you folks. So I need to get more involved in the association and the community. I've done a lot of shows up in Vancouver, but prior to that, so we're focused more on the enterprise solutions like digital twin and robotic and 3D. But prior to that, I was with New Eyes Accessibility, speaking to Todd, and AR glasses for using GPS that wasn't as stable. So looking at Niantic, but you know, there's limitations, right, with the glasses based on sensors and things like that. So right up my alley. Did a lot of geospatial kind of experiences at Pike Place Market. So like cool. You guys were, you know, doing some with the Space Needle. So right up my alley. I'm just nerded out on this whole presentation and the accessibility part of it. My company, our company that I left actually handled a lot of the accessibility using this tech for good, for visibility, for macular degeneration or glaucoma, for visually impaired. So I'm located in Seattle. We're headquartered in Denver. Just wanted to throw that out there. I need to get more involved in this community because I can offer quite a bit of experience, especially on the enterprise side, when it comes to Unity, Unreal, 3D modeling, digital twins. So
perfect.
I'm going to be
for speaking up, Trevor. Nice to meet you. Yeah,
nice to meet you. I'll be at South by. So I definitely want to check it out, and I can't wait to experience it on the you know, whatever glasses you may have. That would be cool because we all know that having the glasses is part of the experience, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, send us a note if you're going to be at South by for sure.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Any other questions, anybody? Nice to meet you, Christopher. Thanks for joining.
Nice to meet you. I'm a student at the University of Texas at Austin in the Texas Immersive Institute program, and I'm going to be volunteering for the Fair World South by Southwest event. So just wanted to check this one out and see what it's all about. But really love the work that Fair Worlds does. So yeah, just excited to be here and to volunteer at South by Southwest. I did want to ask, is the experience going to be the same at South by Southwest as in Seattle, or is it going to be more tailored to Austin?
It's going to be a sort of a preview special of the Seattle experience. So we're going to take what we've done and sort of show it in a different context.
Weirdly, the way I'm kind of thinking about it is like we're using this as sort of a lab to test out what an at-home experience for space-time adventure tours could be. So yeah, so we're sort of figuring out how to do a virtual tour of Seattle and Austin, which comes with a bunch of challenges, but I think it's going to apply to version 2.0, 3.0 and down the line.
And Christopher, I wanted to thank you for joining, and I'll be in touch with you and your colleagues very soon. So thanks again for coming.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So we're coming close to the end of the hour. I want to thank everybody for sharing and for participating. We're gonna, as a reminder, this is recorded. It's gonna be posted in the VRARA portal, and we'll have access to all of it. Any last final remarks in the last minute we have to record? Erik, Brad, Julia.
Oh, yes, I was just going to say, so we've, to kind of reiterate from the beginning, we've got a lot of good upcoming programming down the pike. And if you have a particular program you'd like to see or topic, please let us know. We're happy to help organize something around that or to showcase work that you're doing. So please feel free to reach out. It's what I'm kind of helping, particular part I'm helping with. So
thank you, Julia. Well, thank you, Fair Worlds team again, Brad, Erik, Andy, Todd. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, Christopher and Trevor, for participating. We expect to have more of this in the future. Once a month is our goal, right, Julia?
Yeah.
And the in-person, coming for the in-person if you're around in Seattle. So we'll be thrilled to have you, or if you're watching the recording as well.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
We're excited.
Have a great day, everyone.
For that.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.